Glad you're joining us tonight. This is the 60th anniversary of Dr. King's visit to the Summit City, a fitting time for the dedication. We have team coverage of tonight's top story. Both 55 Fry and Brianna Bias were on hand for the celebration. To explain the significance of the monument, we start with Bree, who is live at the scene. Good evening, Bree.
Tara, I'm live on the corner of West Main and Ewing Street in downtown Fort Wayne, where this monument was dedicated today. It's called the Pillars of Hope and Unity, and it represents the 6 pillars of nonviolence. And its creators tell me they hope it inspires a future that fights injustice and embraces unity. A bruised reed will not break. Artist Norman Lee says Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s words were like that, ever growing and unbreakable. And that's what he and Shane Albritton wanted to reflect with their artwork.
This monument isn't about one man's dream. It's about a whole movement that stretched across this vast, diverse country of ours.
Dr. King visited Fort Wayne June 5th, 1963, 60 years ago to the day. This monument commemorates his visit.
Not just to commemorate an event, but to capture the spirit and impact of the historic visit.
City Council persons Michelle Chambers and Russ Yale sponsored this project.
My grandchildren are here, my great-grandchildren are here. They can come and sit and reflect and learn about equity, learn about equality, learn about to be able to be your fellow man's friend.
The monument represents the 6 pillars of nonviolence and features the words from Dr. King's Fort Wayne speech.
When he spoke those words, they kind of were seeds that were planted here and grew and kind of grew, and he took that message across the nation.
Although Dr. King is gone, his legacy lives on, and Chambers hopes this monument inspires future generations to continue to fight injustice and pursue unity.
Let us recommit ourselves to building a society where the principles he fought for are not only remembered but embraced in every aspect of our lives.
And Lee says this kind of work is really special to him, especially considering all of the Confederate statues across the country that are continuing to come down, and the country is honoring Dr. King's legacy. And of course, part of that legacy that Dr. King left behind is his family. And our reporter Drew Fry actually spoke to his son today and is live in studio now to tell us about his message. Drew?
Yeah, Brianna, well, of course, we know that city leaders welcomed Dr. King's son, Martin Luther King III, as an honored speaker at that ceremony. And Martin Luther King III was, of course, grateful to see this monument honoring his father. But his core message today is that his and his family's work is certainly not over, even 60 years later. We caught up with him after that dedication ceremony. Take a look.
Yes, Dad did talk about his 4 little children living in a world where they would not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. But he was really talking about not just his 4 little children, all children of color.
Martin Luther King III helps cut the ribbon on Fort Wayne's newest monument, the Pillars of Hope and Justice.
Dad always made salient points that were about change, and when you think about pillars of hope and justice, I mean, that's really the epitome of who he was. He represented justice for all people.
60 years ago to the day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. gave a speech inside the former Scottish Rite Auditorium, now a performing arts center. Fort Wayne Reverend Dr. Bill McGill read his words in the same spot.
Now is the time to get rid of segregation. Now is the time to make the American dream a reality.
Still, looking past the monument and the celebration, King III says more needs to be done.
I would have hoped that we as a nation would be further down the road than we are. And I think if Dad was here physically, if Mom were here, they'd be greatly disappointed in the lack of progress that we have made.
He's calling on Fort Wayne and the entire country to rally around his father's message with more than words, but with actions.
We have the capacity and ability as a nation to do most anything, but we've not yet identified the will. So when ability and will are connected, it yields results.
And of course, that monument now stands on the corner of Ewing Street and West Main Street, just across the street from where Dr. King first gave that speech 60 years ago. And now those pillars live on as a reminder of that day and King's message. Tara, I'll send it back to you.
Drew, really quickly, how many people were in attendance during tonight's celebration?
Yeah, it was a pretty big crowd. I talked to the mayor who said he wasn't even sure what to think of in terms of turnout, but couple hundred people were probably there throughout the evening, and that included not only just members of the community, but community leaders, city leaders, county leaders, even a couple state representatives, obviously several members of city council, including Councilwoman Chambers and Councilman Yale, who kind of led the way on getting this project off the ground when they first passed that city council resolution. So plenty of people there in attendance to see these pillars go up, and now they will stand there for a long time, for years to come.
Another historic day for the city. Drew and Bree, thank you for that team coverage.